Well, it was 6 days ago on this program where we told you about Joe Biden's interesting remarks on a show called The Breakfast Club, where he was being interviewed by Charlemagne, who apparently they call Charlemagne the God. And he was asked about his outreach efforts to the Black community. This is what he said.
More questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community.
So there you have it. Joe Biden saying to Charlemagne and to black voters around the country, if you have a problem figuring out if you're for me or Trump, you ain't black. Now, he did subsequently apologize. He said he's being a little bit of a wise guy, but that's not stopping Republicans and the Trump campaign from trying to politically capitalize on these remarks. Here to help us break that down, as well as a bunch of other issues that are resonating around the country, is Teisha Powell. She's a nationally recognized legal analyst and author of the book Trump Must Win, Discover the Dark Days Americans Will Face If Trump Isn't Reelected in 2020. Teisha, something tells me you're not exactly a swing voter for this coming election.
No. I'm actually one of the black voters that are voting Trump. But Frank, as you can see now what happens in America, it's like you've got Joe Biden, a white man, telling me that I'm not black if I vote for Trump. I mean, I feel like a second-class citizen because of Joe Biden. And I think that this is not a fair system where black people can't vote Republican because people like Joe Biden are telling us that we're not black if we vote Republican.
Well, we're going to get into this a little bit more in our second hour as part of our Mix It Up panel, but I am curious, do you think this will actually cause any black voters that don't like President Trump for whatever reason and were planning to vote for Joe Biden, do you think it will cause any black voters to actually change their vote from Biden to Trump?
Well, this is what might happen. Some black people might feel really weird voting for Trump. So they're going to be closet Republicans. They are still going to vote for Trump, but they're not going to tell their family members because, as you can tell, Joe Biden now is dividing black people among themselves. So what's happening, even in my family, when I go home for family dinner, they're all going to gang up against me because I'm voting for Republican. Now, Joe Biden is telling them blacks who vote for Republican are warriors. We are black on the outside and white on the inside. And this is a problem. This is racism.
So it is interesting. If you look at the state of the black community in places like Chicago, in places like Baltimore, in places like St. Louis, they voted in those cities upwards of 85 to 90% Democrat at both the federal level and the municipal level. And still, there's major problems with things like a high school graduation rate, things like crime, things like, even though a plurality of black parents support things like charter schools and school vouchers, the leadership that they're electing to different positions doesn't go along with what the black community wants. I am curious, Teisha, why do you think the black community still continues to have such loyalty to the Democratic Party rather than make both parties come to them and fight for their votes?
Because exactly people like Joe Biden, we're brainwashed. Blacks are brainwashed to think that the Democratic Party, this is years in the making, Frank. They brainwash into thinking that if we don't vote for the Democratic Party, that we're going to lose something. And a lot of older black people go along with it. A lot of young blacks under 50, they're probably going to be voting for Trump because they grew up watching Trump on The Apprentice and you're recognizing that Donald Trump is not a racist. Joe Biden is probably a bigger racist than we think he is.
Well, at least according to how Kamala Harris characterized him during the Democratic presidential debates, it would seem like that's the case. Let me switch up subjects on you, Teisha, and ask you about the killing of George Floyd. This police officer in Minneapolis is caught on video with his knee on Floyd's neck as Floyd is against the pavement. He's saying, "I can't breathe and don't kill me." There are now calls for this police officer to be arrested. There's a federal investigation. Now there's riots going on in both Minneapolis and Los Angeles. Give me your take on the whole George Floyd situation.
Sad, horrible. Cannot believe that this is still happening in America, that white police will brutally attack blacks. However, even as a black mom we should not riot because we're destroying property, and that is making us look even more foolish. So I tell people to hold off on the riot. It's okay to protest, but don't destroy property because you're just hurting the community. Let the legal system take its place, which I'm hurting that the legal process is going to go through. Let justice be heard, but let's not destroy property because we're hurting people in the community.
And in the final minute that we have, Teisha, we've been covering the last few days this story of this viral video of this woman in Central Park who was caught on video calling 911 on a black male who wanted her to put her dog on her leash. Give me your take on that particular situation.
That is just dumb luck on that lady's part. I mean, don't play the racist card. You know, I do know people have white privilege in this community, but don't play the racist card. It doesn't go well. But people should not be calling for her to die either. You know, this is something that she did that was dumb. She's got to deal with that issue. But calling for her to be killed, that's just to another level. We can't do this. We can't do tick for tack.
Yeah, and I will urge my fellow white citizens in places like New York, because now this woman, Miss Cooper, who's the subject of the video, has been fired from her job. She says her life's been destroyed. Eric Adams, the Brooklyn Borough president, he's actually called for her to be arrested. But I would just ask my fellow white citizens to not riot and not loot, even if Miss Cooper does end up being arrested. As you heard Teisha said, there's no good that comes from rioting or looting, whether it's whites doing it, blacks, or any other ethnic group. Hey, Teisha, it is always a pleasure to talk with you. And for those of people watching wondering how you stay in such great shape, I understand you just came back from a run. Is that the secret to your impressive physique?
Yes, I run 15 miles a day. So if you see a black woman running, don't call police.
There you have it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
If you see a black woman running around Long Island 15 miles, do not call police, because the life that you save just might be Teisha's.
Yeah,
Teisha, we'll talk with you next week. Thank you.
Frankie,
All right.
hey, Frankie, hi.
All right, we're going to check in with John Tobacco next. He has safely arrived. He has also avoided arrest. We're 3 for 3 on this show. No arrests for the Frankster, for John, or for Teisha today. We'll tell you about his experience at the unauthorized business opening on Staten Island of a tanning salon next. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm Frank Morano.